Okay, good evening. Call to order this concurrent meeting of School Administrative Unit Number 12, School Board in the Londonderry School District. If you please rise. Mr. Parent, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and good evening. And with the board's indulgence, I'm just going to move our number 6, which is deliberation, up a little bit so that we can let some of these folks relieve. So Nate, if you want to tell us about this field trips, we can do that.
Well, why don't we have Wayne's here?
All right.
Wayne, let's come on up. And Jay, in the packet is the information on the varsity softball
Moving that up
spring
to now.
training.
So these guys can get out of here.
That we've done for a number of years now. The number of days missed in school falls within the rules guidelines. So we're recommending that the trip be approved again. And Wayne's here to answer any questions that you may have.
Hi, Wayne, thanks.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how's it going?
Very good, thank you.
And this is something we do every year, right?
Yes, sir, this is our 5th trip, actually.
Great. And I know that, the girls always get a charge out of it, so that's always a good thing, and I think it gives them practice getting ready for the season.
Yes, sir, we play 6 games in 3 days, and...
To be young again.
Yes, and it's warm.
There's some advantage to
Yeah,
that.
there's a huge advantage to that. I think it really helps us get a little bit of a jump on the rest of Class L, to tell you the truth. And the bonding and the chemistry that goes on with the girls down there is really, really good. It helps us a lot develop that chemistry part that's so important. So we look forward to it. They have fun. We compete, and we watch over them very closely, obviously.
Mhm.
We haven't had any incidents in the 4 years that we've done, knock on wood.
Great.
So it's just been good all around, to tell you the truth.
Terrific. Any other questions from the board? Steve?
How many days of school do they miss?
We missed 2 days, sir.
And when you're down there, you follow the guidelines that we set in place. I think we voted on that last year.
Absolutely. To the letter.
Thanks.
Wayne always does a great job with the kids and supervision.
We have a chaperone already designated for next year, for this coming year, if the trip's approved. And the people, a lot of the parents generally go. We usually have a half a dozen parents that are with us. And we don't let the girls do anything unless they're pretty much all together. Minimum is 3 that have to be together to do anything. And generally, the whole team does it. It's very rare that they break off from each other. And the environment is incredibly safe. They pick us up at the airport. They bring us back to the airport afterwards. We don't have to do any transportation type stuff. And the shuttles take us everywhere, to and from the Wide World of Sports complex and to any of the parks that they choose to attend. So it's a safe environment. We have a curfew, obviously, and stuff like that they adhere to.
Yep. John?
I think I know the answer to this, but just to elicit it for the record, the cost to the district of this trip is
0, I believe.
0.
We do it, yeah, it's all fun.
All the money is raised by,
We have a booster club, on-deck club, booster club that raises a good portion of it, and then the individual athletes have to pick up the difference.
thank you.
Questions?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the 2009 spring softball trip to Disney World, Orlando, Florida.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Enjoy yourselves.
All right, we certainly will.
Great time.
I appreciate
Think
the
of us, I'm
support.
sure we'll be in the snow by then.
Plenty of
so-
sunblock.
Yeah, we like the weather down there.
Yeah.
Oh, just make sure you come back, okay?
Always come back.
Thanks, Wayne.
I don't know.
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are, sir.
Get a
Thank
gig in
you.
the Sally League.
Okay, yeah. The next requested trip is one that has become an annual trip for us. That's the Camp Dakota trip for the students in our World Studies program. We've been doing it now, I believe, for the last 4 years. Once again, we're recommending the board approve this trip, and Jay's here to answer any questions that you have.
Jay, can you just give us a little quick background on what Camp Dakota is and
Sure.
why we send our kids there?
Camp Dakota is an adventure-based outdoor education facility that hosts schools who are looking to participate in team-building activities, learn what it means to be part of a community, learn some self-respect concepts, learn to rely on each other, and I think it's been good for this population of students because that's the exact curriculum that we offer them throughout the year. So we've taken advantage of it these last 4 years, and it's been fantastic for those students.
Thanks. Any other questions? Questions for Jay? John?
I'm going to ask the same questions, thinking oh, I thought you were grabbing a microphone there. I think I know the answers to this, too. The cost to the district of this trip is,
0.
and it's paid for by?
It's there's a fundraising effort with the World Studies program. In the past we've had private donations, and other sources of funding that we're looking at is some grant money.
The one thing I want to ask in addition to that is, suppose a World Studies student is not able to pay.
We provide scholarship for them just like we would with any student that's.
Okay. Thanks very much.
Thank you, John. Anybody else? Ron?
Mr. Chairman, on this one here, this is a standard trip that has become part of our World Studies program. And would the board consider the idea that this does not have to come back unless it changes?
Right.
Okay?
I certainly would. I can't speak for everybody else, but is there any objection to that?
The only comment I'd have on that is I'd ask the press tonight to contact Jason on this and, get connected. I know that we've been embedded a reporter before down to Washington, D.C., and I think that there's a lot of good news in this program. So if we stop talking about it in this room, it might be a good idea to make sure that the community knows that we still offer this.
Absolutely.
Either of you guys want to do a ropes course?
Okay, Mr. Chairman, with that, I make a motion that the board approve the World Studies trip to Camp Tuckadoa for this year and all future years unless there's a change in the criteria of this trip.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Jay, thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate
Thanks
that.
for the support.
Thank you. And Nate,
Yeah, and
Golden
I'll give a
Circle.
Quick overview. Bonnie was the individual that recommended or nominated Londonderry Family Safety Day to receive a Gold Circle Award from the New Hampshire Partners in Education. And our last board meeting, Vinnie Curro was here to talk about it. So we're very pleased that this program is going to receive a Gold Circle Award, and it's going to be an award ceremony on September 22nd at the Radisson Center in New Hampshire. And we're pleased. This is the program that's in partnership with Moose Hill. And Vinnie was here last week,
Right.
last board meeting to discuss the program. So this is a great community program, and it's a nice partnership between the school district and community activity. There we
Thanks,
go.
Nate. Bonnie, thank you for taking that initiative. We appreciate it.
Oh, okay.
And if you could pass on our thanks to her. And Family Safety Day is coming up this Saturday, the 20th, from 12 to 4 at Matthew Thornton. So I hope to see a lot of folks out there. It's a great day. A lot of good things going on. Vinnie does a great job with that. So we
Excuse
thank
me,
him.
Matthew Thornton?
It is at
got
Matthew
moved,
Thornton
yeah.
this year. Moose Hill was, we kind of outgrew Moose Hill.
Yeah, I just saw the banner was still up in front of Moose Hill.
So we hope to see folks out there. Any other public comment? Anybody have anything? Jay? There you go.
Just some exciting news I wanted to share that Mr. Dolphin shared with our staff this month. Our very own C.J. Janito has been named the Londonderry High School Francis Wayland Parker Scholar for September. He's
Wow.
currently writing an essay, and he is up for that award, Scholar of the Year, which they'll pick, I believe, in May or June
Yeah.
for that. So
Good
I
for
wanted
you,
to
CJ.
certainly recognize him.
Nice work.
And Caitlin McKenney has attained semifinalist status in the National Merit Competition, and she's up for
Fantastic.
National Merit Finals. So
Jay, thanks for that. That's terrific. And CJ, congratulations.
Thanks.
And for the members of the board, you should have, again, added this evening, call for New Hampshire School Board Association resolutions. So if you guys can take a look at that, if there's anything that we want to suggest that NHSBA puts in their resolutions, as I'm going to suggest Steve's going to go in January like he always does. So Nate, if you could kind of schedule something probably, a few weeks out, that we can just get some input from the folks here, and we'll see if we've got anything.
'Cause I think is it due the 22nd, or what's the date it's due?
24th of October,
Right, and so
so.
we have a school board meeting on the 21st of October and one on the 7th. What's the board's pleasure?
21st should be fine, I would think. Steve?
Just to explain to the public what the impact on that is, last year, we presented to the School Board Association a resolution that indicated that we, the School Board Association, would not support a constitutional amendment that, in our opinion, would be used to circumvent the court's ruling that ruled in our favor that House Bill 616 was unconstitutional. And that power provided us with the ability for a very small amount of money. I think, Nate, we pay $4,000 a year for our membership, approximately. For that amount of money out of this district, we then were able to have the School Board Association lobby our state government, our representatives, senators, and the governor, so that we were we made it clear that all of the school boards in the state of New Hampshire did not support a constitutional amendment. And I believe that put us in a situation where we were very powerful. And that was simply this board going to asking at that meeting that be included. And it's a good thing. So if anybody can come up with something else that we can leverage our school board association to help us with, that's going to be good.
Thanks, Steve. Any other comments?
I
Yep.
just want to mention that it was, I believe, it was Steve's presentation and his forceful presentation and articulate presentation at that meeting that got that amendment passed.
Thank you, Nate. Thanks, Steve. Okay, if there's nothing else, we will move along.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Just want to announce the meetings upcoming are October 7th, 7 PM here in this room. October 21st, 7 PM. That's another regular meeting here. November 4th and November 18th. And then we will move to budget presentation on the 25th of November, again here in this room. So here it begins. Fun, fun, fun. All right, with that, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's 5-0. Continue along, we'll move to committee reports, and CJ, we'll start with you.
All right. Just to touch on the newsletters I passed out to the board, those were made by our publicist, Myung-Woo Lee. I was publicist last year, so I can say from experience that a lot of work goes into them. Inside, there's just a little blurb on each of us on the executive board. We pass it out to everyone who comes to our first meeting. So what you're seeing now is what every person who joins student council gets on their first experience. Moving along, the executive council met 2 weeks ago. And again, that's just for the student council executive board and the executive boards of each class to get together with administrators and discuss mainly dances and fundraisers, but it helps us to see who else is trying to do what we're doing. The student council is hosting the Region 4 meeting tomorrow at our school. Region 4 includes nearby schools like Pinkerton. The meeting will be run by the region president, Tiffany Gaudette, who actually attends our school. She's a senior. The meeting will include fun team building activities and region-wide discussion. Thursday, the council will be holding a teacher supper before Parents' Night. That's for the teachers who are staying after through to Parents' Night. So that will include a meal and entertainment for them. And then the council will be staying after to help out with Parents' Night, whether it be to stand in for teachers who can't make it or help parents find their children's rooms. A statewide meeting was hosted today at LHS for New Hampshire BioConnect. It was a statewide meeting, so we had students from all over the state. The organization would like to thank LHS for the use of its building. They came together to discuss their fall rally. So I do have one thing for sports. Girls and boys volleyball played yesterday. The boys were defeated, but the girls won 3-0 against Auburn at home.
Great. CJ, thanks. Stella?
Before CJ
Oh, sorry.
Before CJ leaves, maybe he can show the document that the student council put together.
Sure.
And just, you might want to mention that. This is really nice.
He did mention it.
Show it.
Oh, show it.
Camera 7?
Come on, LD, wake up. Let's go.
copy.
Tighten it up, zoom in. I do. You know, ever since these tally lights broke, it's been harder. There, yeah.
Give us a thumbs up when you got it out. Thank you.
All right.
They don't usually open that little window.
Thanks, Nate. I'm sorry, Stella.
That's okay. North School held 2 assembly programs last week. The first grade students were introduced to the school's PBIS program with help from 5th graders who put on skits to highlight school-wide behavioral expectations. Also, a school-wide assembly was held on Friday to roll out Year 2 of the North School Bears Track to Success program. At Matthew Thornton, the PBIS program is called PAWS. First graders will be introduced to the program this Thursday at 1:30. And on September 24th, there will be a school-wide PAWS assembly in which students and teachers will play Family Feud in order to review the PAWS behavior matrix. And that's always a fun assembly and a nice way to review the behavior. Buddy classes, which is usually the pairing of a 4th or 5th grade class with a 1st or 2nd grade class, those are starting up. They usually meet once or twice a month, depending on teachers' schedules. Students have a fun time as they work together on projects or reading. And 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade teachers are looking forward to an open house. At the Londonderry Middle School, the Wellness Committee is kicking off their 2nd annual Wellness Day on September 24th. Students will be attending an assembly and participating in a walk, as well as meeting with various community health speakers. Staff will be doing the same in the afternoon. And this is a message which I will just read from the Middle School Social Studies Department. What is the power of a penny? Pennies for Peace teaches children the rewards of sharing and working together to bring hope and educational opportunities to children in Pakistan and Afghanistan. A penny in the United States is virtually worthless, but in Pakistan and Afghanistan, a penny buys a pencil and opens the door to literacy. The mission of Central Asia Institute focuses on community-based education, especially for girls. A 5th grade education for girls improves not only the basic indices of health for her and her family, she will also spread the value of education within her community. Literacy for boys and girls provides better economic opportunities in the future and neutralizes the power of extremist leaders. Please join us in Pennies for Peace. Send in your extra pennies starting September 22nd. Thank you.
Thank you. And, Ben?
We had the Technology Committee meeting last week or the week before, and basically what we spoke about is that the success of the summer program in manufacturing the machines, we hired students, we hired students to build the machines, and they were very successful, and that's a program that we do want to continue. And we were very, very happy with the outcome of that, and we spoke about different options on that may come out of that a little bit more. The other item that we're seeing is that X2 is up and running. There's additional, there's glitches like any other computer program, but they seem to be being met and coming back. One of the things that we spoke about is possibly doing, have all the teachers do one report card or so prior to needing it in that time frame, so they've got any problems that they have, they can take care of it before we get up to that point. We also spoke about, during the summer workshops, is come up with a formalized program for computer training that we have it written down. We have it in like 7 or 8 places right now, bring it all together. So we have a formalized program. As we bring people into the district, we're adding more and more little nits to it, like X2, they'll have to know how to use the web page and the other basic items that we have. So make a document that says, here's the stuff that we need to teach the students, as we're doing here. And of course, the one item that I know Sue Ballard is looking forward to is that our technology plan is up this year, and it'll have to be done again for the June of '09. So you'll be able to work on that one. So we're in pretty good shape. They're sending out a notice also about any sort of budgetary implications. Those initiatives needs to be in by a certain date, and the administration will publish that date. So we'll have all that stuff done when we get here in November, December, and talk about the budget. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Steve?
I had no meetings, but of note, I think, is Art Salidas has started an ad hoc donation for Warm Homes with a meter, which a parking meter, which I'm assuming he stole from the city streets of Manchester. And it would make a great photo op for you guys out there that are interested in that.
Or mugshot, depending.
I'm only assuming he got it because they have those new fancy meters in Manchester. But he has the kids putting a quarter in it, and Karen Robinson is running PSAs on WLOLP about that. So I just thought it was a very cute idea and a pretty innovative way to raise funds. But other than that, I didn't get to go to any meetings on the school side, just the town side.
All right, thanks, Steve. John?
I've mostly been doing parent things with the start of the year. Shay had an open house at Matthew Thornton. Brooke had one at the middle school, both of which went very well. And I think it's worth complimenting the administrators of all the schools for the programs they put together to help make sure parents are up to date and integrated with the goings-on at the school.
I would agree. And thanks, John. And before we move on, we need a,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, in my oversight, there was one walk-in resignation, and I'd like to make a motion that we accept the resignation of Rebecca McHugh from the high school.
okay, so I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Mary, you can just put that on the consent agenda. It just got lost. Thanks. Okay, and moving right along, we will go to Mr. Greenberg.
Okay, and I'm gonna go to Susie Swenson.
Thanks, Ronnie.
Good evening. As of course, yeah, we're gonna do as the principal said last board meeting, that they all had a great opening. Well, so did the HR department had a great recruiting season. It just seems like our recruiting season never ends. We recruit all year. It's a continual effort, joint effort. Okay? All right. Over the summer, the superintendent had the administration read a book called Good to Great by James Collins. And in the book, he said the old adage is that people are your most important asset. Well, in the Good to Great company, the people are not your most important asset. It's the right people. So you need to get the right people on the bus in the first place, and you need to keep them there. And that also applies to education and picking the right teachers. All right. All right. So as we look at recruiting season and our recruitment cycle goes, first we always look at the needs. We look at the budget impact. We look at enrollments. And in a study done by the National Center of Education Information, it states that 40% of the nation's classroom teachers are 50 years or older. And as you can see from the graph of our teachers, that we fit pretty much into that. So we look at how is our retirement looking. We always try to, go out 5 years. You never know when anybody's going to retire, and the way the economy is going right now, people are too scared to retire, so they're kind of hanging on a little bit longer than what we project. So, all right, Peter, or the next one. So then after we see who's going to retire, we also want to look at our experience in our departments, like in the middle school and the high school. And as you can tell by looking at our foreign language, of course, we're very heavy on the high side of step 14 of our experience level. And when you look at foreign language, math, and science, those are our critical shortage. This is where it's difficult to replace these teachers, but we want to look at balance. Of course, you want to have your new teachers coming in, you want to be in the middle, and then have the experience. You want to keep balance in your programs. You don't want to have all brand new teachers. So we always have to look at each department. Okay. All right. So then, after we've looked at all of our needs, then the HR department, our recruitment specialist, Melissa Thompson, we sit down and look at, all right, what's our best ways of recruiting? What's our best ways of getting the jobs out there? As you can tell by our graph here, the internet is still the key, and thank goodness it is the least expensive way to go. So Ed Jobs in New Hampshire, if any teacher, if they're looking for a job in New Hampshire, this is the site they go to. It's worth every penny that we put into it. So it kind of gives you a breakdown as to how our advertising dollars go. 10, 12 years ago, we were spending close to $15,000 for recruiting and for advertising. And we're down now to this year's budget was around, what we spent was around $3,000. So, yes, Steve?
Didn't you used to do the Globe?
No,
No, you didn't do the Boston
we've
Globe?
never done the, yeah, that's too expensive, right? So, so that it has been very cost effective. It has been very good. The employee, that 8% there, that is word of mouth. So our teaching staff does help to promote our district, and also is helping us find people. Okay. Okay. So after we've done all of our looking how we're going to advertise, you see how to do that. But I am such a firm believer in the best way is good old face-to-face. And we are busy all year round. Like it's the fall time, we'll go out to the school, to the colleges. How are they doing? How is education? Are the numbers keeping up? Are students going into education? So we always have a relationship with the local colleges. Last year we went to Keene State College twice to a job fair in November for the students that were graduating in December, and then we go back in March. The NEA, they have a job fair in May up in Concord. And of course, our very successful tool is our job fair that we have here at the school district. We hired 12 teachers out of our job fair. It's a big effort. All the staff comes together. The administrators, we interviewed, I believe, 165 potential candidates this past job fair. So that has been a big key to our recruitment. All right, so then we've got everybody all hired. We have 450 teachers this year. That's bodies. That is not FTEs. That is 450 bodies. So as you see, master's level is we're very proud to see it look like that. Like at UNH, when teachers graduate, new teachers graduate, they already have their masters. It is a 5-year plan at UNH. So you do come out with your masters. We also have the on-site masters where teachers can move up the scale to get their masters right here on campus. So that has been a very good, not only recruiting tool, but a way for the teachers to help them move up the scale. Because we want to see them move up. If they're doing that, then they're expanding themselves. They're only going to become better teachers. So we're proud of our distribution here. We do have, it says 0 that we have 2 people that do have their PhDs. All right, thank you. Okay, so then we get them all hired, and then we conduct a full-day orientation where they come in, we set it up in this room, and Cindy McMahon is our benefits coordinator, and she worked very hard to get the packets together. The paperwork that they, we really overload them. The packet they have with policies and paperwork, and to get it all done, so we can start paying them and get things going. So it's quite an effort to get them all set. So, all right. And then we even include a school bus tour. We put all the new teachers on the school bus. Ken is great. He comes and he drives the bus from the bus company. And we start up at North, and we work all the way down, and we go into each school. So that way, if during early release day they have a conference up at North School, at least they've been there. They know where it is. I always survey everybody afterwards, and I just say, do you want to keep this in? Do you like it? And they all say, oh, please keep it on. They have a ball getting on a school bus. And so it's kind of fitting that I close here with, we end up with the right people on the bus. So here we are, all right? And then we have the end. But wait, there is one more. All right, Peter? The Celtics were here this summer, and they were recruiting for the upcoming season. So we had another little recruiting session going on. All right, thank you. I'll take any questions that you may have. As you saw how tall Cedric Maxwell is, because you know how tall Andy Corey is.
One of them
We
looked
won't
like
say
a
anything
leprechaun.
about how tall Nate is, will we?
Right now for mascot. Any questions for Susie? Yes.
No question, just a comment. I just want to publicly thank Susie and Cindy and Melissa. They do an outstanding job, and it's a 12-month job. The recruitment.
Really enjoy every minute of it. Yes, thank you.
Just fantastic.
Susie, I think the tour of the district is an excellent idea. It's tremendous. Where I've been, we have new employees, and we found out from the first time we did it, not all the people that we brought in as summer interns were able to visit all the buildings that we had on site. And that came out a couple of times, and even it took us a while for new employees. So having them go to all the buildings, see the buildings, is a tremendous idea, and it shouldn't be dropped out of the program.
That's it, yeah, that's it. Thank
A
you.
few buildings over there I'd rather not go to.
He is? Yeah.
Mr. Blunt.
Oh, we got more stuff up here?
No, I'll,
Things up there?
just stay where you're at right now.
Okay. Yes, sir.
What I'd like to do before we get started,
Good chairman.
There's 3 areas that I'd like to focus on tonight. The first one is to, this was brought up at an earlier board meeting, to give you the assessment administration time between the state mandated testing as well as the district-wide standardized testing. That'd be the first part. Second part, I just want to give a brief overview of the 07-08 results on NECAP, Iowa, and the Dibbles. And then the third piece is I'm going to hand out to all of you average rate of growth. This will be the third piece, Peter, not yet, because I don't want him looking yet. I don't want him looking.
Boy, he's just walked in and took over, didn't he?
I want to be able to show you, the board, as well as the community at home, average rate of growth results from our Iowas from one specific class, just as an example, on how we drill down to the grade level the class level and the individual level, which will set up for subsequent meetings when the principals come in with the action plans, tell you what they did and where we're going to go. And then we'll have a third session where we'll show you how we use the assessment at the individual and class level. So it's kind of leading up to what our discussion was a few meetings ago. So I hope that works for all of you. But first, if you go to your packet that was in your board packet, about halfway in, there's another memo that outlines for you the administration times. And I'll just, we assess pretty much at all grade levels, K through up to grade 11. I'll just point out a couple of them just to give you a flavor and the audience at home. For example, at grade K, the primary standardized assessment we do is the DIBELS, and that generally takes 30 to 45 minutes per student per year. At kindergarten level, it takes a little bit longer. They're generally a 5-minute or so measure, but just getting the kids ready to go at that age, it takes a little bit longer. At grade 3, for example, where kneecaps come into play, the state mandated tests, the state determines that we basically spend 540 minutes or 9 hours on kneecap testing at grade 3 versus what the district does. DIBELS, we assess approximately 15 minutes per year per student. And on the Iowa tests, all of the Iowa tests, it takes us 266 minutes. So roughly we spend 4.7 hours as a district on standardized assessment versus the state's 9 hours at grade 3. Another example, just turning over on the back, at grade 8, which this is very noticeable. At grade 8, the district on its Iowa test spends 321 minutes or 5.5 hours approximately versus the state's 1,085 minutes or 18.1 hours. That includes the kneecap reading, writing, and math assessments, plus the spring kneecap science test. So that amounts to 18.1 hours. At the high school level, the two standardized assessments are at grade 9. The Iowa, we spend approximately 3.7 hours versus kneecap at grade 11. 525 minutes, 8 3/4 hours, 300 minutes on the fall kneecap, and 225 minutes on the kneecap for science. So that just gives you a flavor versus what we offer versus the state. I provided the board, and this is also on the district website, the district assessment calendar. It also has on there the minutes and the hours that are spent on the assessments as well. Okay. Any questions on administration time?
Yeah.
John had a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, John.
Could you reiterate how many hours and, for that matter, days we wind up spending on state mandated tests?
Well, just going through exercise-wise, if you just take grade 8,
Yeah.
18.1 hours is over 3 days worth of state mandated testing just for kneecap.
Is there additional time spent preparing kids for these tests?
We typically, at our schools, we believe that the curriculum we have in place, because we align our curriculum with the state frameworks and benchmarks, that, we basically teach to that curriculum. However, at all of our levels, the state does provide practice materials that we can go to their website that we do encourage our teachers to familiarize our kids with the techniques that are used on those assessments.
Since this is a state mandated test, I assume they pick up all the expenses?
The answer to that is no.
How much do we wind up paying?
Well, if you calculate all of the hours and the teaching, the teacher's salary into that, I mean, there's a significant cost to the local district in administering, not only at administering the tests, but the follow-up, the preparation prior to the assessment. I believe, if I'm correct, the New Hampshire School Administrators Association did a evaluation on the kneecap costs. Am I right, Nate? Several years ago.
A while back.
Quite a few years ago.
And what value do we get from these tests beyond the value that we can obtain from the other assessments that we use?
We actually, we actually get more value out of our district assessments, such as our DIBELS, our Iowas, to drive our curriculum and instruction. It informs us as a district on where we can best meet the needs of kids, to improve our curriculum, to improve instruction, compared with the state kneecap assessment.
So just to sum up, the state has blessed us with the opportunity to spend our money and about 3, 4, 5 days of education time performing tests that we don't need.
You summed it up very nicely,
Thank you.
Mr. Robinson.
It is the state's response to No Child Left Behind.
That is
really
correct.
what it is. And that's all I'll say about it.
Oh, we can keep kicking it up.
Okay.
But Carol likes it.
Okay. With that in mind, I will shift and give you just a brief summary of our results from the 07-08 school year on the 3 major assessments. Looking at kneecap first. Kneecap has been in existence for the last 3 years, and during that 3-year period, Londonderry has averaged 77% of all students, grades 3 through 8, scoring proficient or better in reading during the last 3 years versus 70% for the state. In mathematics, during that same time period, our students have averaged 73% scoring proficient or higher versus the state's 62%. The graph or the chart that's up there basically shows the breakdown of our kneecap averages, grades 3 through 8 of all students, 2005, 2006, and 2007. Consistently, we have been above the state average, just looking at these results, going back to 05, this was prior to the piloting of the Scott Forsman Core Reading Program at grades K through 5. Then we moved into a pilot phase, and yet we saw a slight increase from 76 to 77%. And then the last year was full implementation, and yet we maintained a consistent result. So just wanted to point that out in the reading area. The next slide that I have is math over the last 3 years, and again, this is all students grades 3 through 8. Now, this does not include the high school grade 11 test. A significant difference between us and the state in 05, 73 versus 53. Again in 07, 74 versus 65, and this past year 71 versus 67 on the state average. Just some interesting pieces in the data. from the results that's in your summary. Londonderry students consistently performed above the state average in many of the areas tested. Just a couple of pieces. The class of 2017, this year's grade 4 kids, and the incoming grade 8 kids this year, placed 83% of its students at proficient or higher on the kneecap versus the state's 77 and 75%. So that's roughly, if you're looking at numbers, we had 291 kids out of 363 scoring proficient or higher in the grade 4 class, this year's grade 4, and 345 out of 417 at grade 8, or this year's grade 8 class. In the area of mathematics, just a couple of pieces. Grade 5, this year's grade 5 class, as well as grade 8, placed 74%. That's 308 students out of 399 in grade 5, and 71%, or 297 out of 417 in the grade 8 class that were proficient or higher on the kneecap math. So those were just a couple pieces I wanted to share with you on that. The baseline grade 11 kneecap results this year's class of 2009. Again, it was the baseline test of the kneecap at that grade level. 74% of the students scored proficient or above on the reading section of the test, compared to 67%. In mathematics, we were disappointed, and I know a number of high schools around the state were disappointed. 34% of our students scored proficient and above versus the state's 28%. Again, that was grade 11, the first administration of the kneecaps. Moving into the Iowa test. Oh, go ahead.
So what
Sorry,
happened there,
Steve.
Mark?
You know, in retrospect, and I know a number of the administrators at the high school interviewed the kids afterwards. The kids at the high school level, this year's seniors, I know they took it very seriously, the math test. They said it was a difficult, very difficult test, even harder than what they found on the SAT math. It just was very hard for them. That's what we heard back from the kids.
So if this, now not all students take the SATs.
That is correct.
See, I was just thinking way out there
Yeah.
that if the state were to use the SATs for their benchmark instead of their own test.
Again, when their own test, the idea behind a test coming from the state is to see how kids measure up against the standards that they've set. However, I think there must have been
Mathematics
some
being so
misalignment
significantly
at
different in New
grade
Hampshire than
11.
California, say.
Right. But if you look at New Hampshire, consistently, New Hampshire is at the top educationally, as you've even pointed out publicly, Steve, on SATs, in education. We've seen, you know, our kids' results on other measures where they do very well. And we know they take a number of advanced level mathematics courses, so.
So what happens in a situation like that? Are you compelled to, for lack of a better phrase, teach to the test?
Well, what we've done is, and I know Diane has done this with the math department, we've gone back, we've looked at the released items that the state releases from the last administration for us to look at. We go back and try to focus on those. We look at to see if there were some gaps in our curriculum. So those are some of the pieces that we look at.
Were there?
It's difficult because if the state releases a very, very small percentage of items, So it makes it difficult for us to make any kind of educational decision to, you know, to make a judgment off of the released items they give us and the information they give us. So
Do we know who actually writes this test?
that, well, I'll tell you, John, that the tests, when in the development stage, these tests are each of the 3 Department of Ed's, state departments, Vermont, Rhode Island, and New Hampshire, they pool together a number of math teachers from across their states to write questions and to develop questions. And they take it from there, and then they did a pilot run the year before the actual operational assessment to validate whether the questions were good or not. So that's kind of how they go through the process.
Thank you.
But it's, yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions on kneecap? Okay, turning to the Iowa test, I just want to point to just 2 areas this evening, and that is just the area of math and reading. As all of you have heard in my previous reports to the board, consistently we do well on a lot of our standardized tests. So I just wanted to point to a couple of areas, the transitional years, and what you have here is class of 2015 and the class of 2012 and how they did overall on math in Iowa, on the Iowa tests. Students scoring 81 NPR or greater, we had 182 out of 396 students tested. And for the incoming grade 6 class at 90 NPR or higher, we had 125 students out of 396. These are outstanding results when you have students scoring at these levels. Likewise, our incoming freshmen, we had 145 students score at 90 NPR or higher out of 455. And likewise, 81 NPR or higher, we had 223. And then on the reading results, again, we had some strong results here. We had 84 students in the 90th NPR or higher coming into grade 6. We had 143 out of 394 at 81 NPR or higher in reading at grade 6. At grade 9, 63 out of 455 at 90 NPR or higher, and 135 out of 455 at 81 NPR or higher. And generally, the top quartile on Iowa is 74 NPR or higher. So we have a significant number of our kids in the upper quartiles of the Iowa tests. And then the last test I just will show you is the Dibbles results, which we primarily use at grades K1 and 1, 2, and 3. And during the last 4 years, we've seen steady but consistent progress and improvement in our Dibbles results. Dibbles coupled with the Iowa tests greatly help us in our work with our kids in our 3-tier reading model. And the work starting at K, those kids leaving the kindergarten program, moving into our 3 schools, the use of Dibbles as well as the reading unit assessments that Bonnie's teachers use at K have really helped provide that consistency and quality over the last 3-4 years that we've seen. And I know the incoming principals at the 3 elementary schools have greatly appreciated Bonnie and her teachers' efforts in making sure that quality is there. So that's our Dibbles results. So, Steve,
Could you explain the definition of nonsense word fluency?
Bonnie, would you like to do that as long as it's a K piece?
Sure. Nonsense word fluency is giving the children a word that is not a regular word, an ordinary word that you would see, and to see if they can decode that word using what they have been taught in terms of letter sounds. So, you know, normally we would give children a word like pop for phoneme seg, and they take it apart and tell us the sounds. But in nonsense word fluency, we give them a word that they have or will not see. Can't even come up with one right
Like
now.
apple stock.
Well, obviously, it would
I was
be
thinking
it
wuzzle,
would be
actually,
a
but-
CVC word at our level. So, for instance, you would do P. You do the letter P, E, and I'm trying to think of something that would make sense.
Like PEF, P-E-F.
Yeah, P-E-F. So they're gonna read it to you, P-E-F. It's a nonsense word. It's not one they've seen, but they have to be able to decode it.
Not at all what I thought.
Okay.
Thank you.
John?
Beyond,
Just, if I could, just pick up on what Bonnie said.
microphone?
Youngsters, you know, part of the instruction of reading is not only decoding, but also using configuration or sight words. So by using the nonsense syllable, you're able to zero right in on the youngster's understanding of particular sounds and blending of sounds. So that's really the reason for doing it. So you eliminate those extraneous factors. So if you make it a nonsense word, it may have been, if it's not, that way a youngster can say, oh, I remember seeing that, or I look at the configuration and I can think of the words. So that's the reason for the nonsense words.
Harkening back to the high NPR rankings, what factors beyond excellent classroom instruction are at work there?
Well,
Are
first of all-
there socioeconomic factors? Are there any other kinds of influences that could be contributing to that kind of success?
Well, John, I would say there are many factors. Obviously, our strong, the home environment. I'd say our parents play a significant role in our results in a variety of our assessments because they place a great value on education. So I would say it starts at the home with parents, the culture of our community. Londonderry is a community. We value education. I think there's a variety. We have a very strong, as Susie pointed out in her recruitment report, we place strong importance on making sure we get the right people on the bus and that we value those people. So, and we want to make sure that they stay with us for a long time, those right people on the bus. So I think teachers play an important role. Obviously, having a strong curriculum that is consistent both vertically and horizontally, which we've been striving to do over the last 5-6 years and probably longer than that, that plays an important role as well. So, and then I would even go beyond that, the extended learning programs that the board has supported, whether it be adult ed, GED, our summer school programming, those all factor into this big picture.
Do results like this typically map to income?
They can, but again, I would be cautious on that because I think even if we look at some of our grittiest urban centers in the United States, we can look at significant growth at some of the individual schools in those areas. So I guess I would be cautious on
Okay.
on that.
Great, thank you.
If I could add one more thing to what Mark had said, I think instructional organization is another factor.
Yes.
We have talked for a number of years about our response to intervention programs, our three-tiered reading program, and those kinds of things. And I think all of these things put in place have an impact on how well the students are able to perform.
Thank you.
Okay, the last piece, which is what I'm most excited about and sharing with you guys tonight, I'm going to hand out, and Peter, if you could, if you could get to the slides for me, and it's this one right here.
I gotta find it.
Yeah, you can. It's in that folder. It's in that folder. All right. There we go. So, and for people in the audience, the slides will be up
Thank you.
on the screen, so you won't be able to see them. Okay. Okay, you found it? I only need one at a time.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's really good.
Moving back can help a lot.
I was trying to get it a little better for you.
I want it big.
I was trying to get it big.
Can you get it any bigger?
I'm working on it.
Yeah. Go up to view and, well, that'll do it too.
Okay. Okay, good. Can everybody see that? Out in the audience? Somewhat? No, you can't.
A little more?
You'll listen. A little bit more if you can. Good. All right,
Is that?
good. Thanks, Peter. All right.
Oh, let me get out now.
Yeah, I want you to get out. All right. What I've provided board members this evening is the average rate of academic growth for the class of 2015, this year's incoming grade 6 class. And what you have here on the slide are standard score results. This is the cohort class. So starting back in grade 2 with 180 to this past spring where they scored 233. I'm just looking at reading total at the top. Those are their average standard score results. Now, the average, just to give you an example, if you look at the reading total where it says 233, the average standard, the median performance for the Iowa, the median score for reading total is 214. Our reading total for this cohort is 233. We're well above, and that's true of every grade level, 2, 3, 4, 5 that you see on this sheet. Now, in order to calculate or to get whether or not a group or an individual student makes a year's growth, you have to take, for example, 233 minus 217.6 in the previous year to get 15.4. That's the standard score difference. Now, down at the bottom of this chart, I tell you, directly from the Iowa test, that the average annual academic growth rate between grades 4 and 5 is 14. So in order to make a year's growth, there has to be between grade 4 and grade 5 at least a 14-point difference. So in this particular class, our incoming grade 6 youngsters, in every single area, they made a year's growth in a year's time. And in fact, in some areas, they went well above it, particularly in the language areas like spelling and capitalization, where they were over 20. Math computation was very high at 17.3. Math concepts was 17.6. So these are very strong results. The column to the right, the superintendent asked me to pull out what the standard scores would be like without our special ed students in the pool, and obviously those go up quite a bit, from 233 to 240 in the reading, going down to like math total 236 to 243. There's a bit of a difference on that, but so this is all students looking at the big picture. Now, taking you to the next slide in your packet, the board has, is just the females. And the females in every category, 180 students that were tested, they made a year's growth in a year's time. And again, some of the high points are in the language area. Usage and expression, 23.6. Spelling was strong, 22.2. Capitalization, spelling was 19.6. Math computation, again, an area that we have focused on the last 3-4 years, 18.8. Again, those are strong results. Going a little bit further, looking at the males. Now, as we keep drilling down, you begin to find some things. And on this one, which is on your copy in red, you find, well, gee, our males at grade 6, a little bit difficulty in punctuating. So that's an area that popped up. They didn't make a year's growth. But in other areas, they made a year's growth in a year's time. And spelling was very strong. Computation, 15.4 over a year's growth. Math concepts was strong, 18.2. So those are the male group. Drilling down a little bit further is the incoming grade 6 special ed students only. And we tested approximately 90 of our special ed students on the Iowas. Many areas, our special ed population made a year's growth in a year's time. We're particularly pleased with reading comprehension and reading vocabulary, both over a year's growth in a year's time. Math computation made 18.6. That's outstanding. But it does show some areas where we do need to look at, particularly in the language areas, punctuation, usage, and expression. But again, that's our SPED population. The SPED females, which drills it down even further. There were only 32 tested in this group. But again, there are some areas where they made a year's growth. The math computation was 22.8, even better than our male SPED population. But again, the red areas point out areas where we didn't make a year's growth, areas that we will need to focus on this year. The last, I'm sorry, Steve.
In special education, why would these students do so much better in computation than they would in the other category? Can you slide back down?
Yep, I can.
It's such, well,
There's the
it's so
female.
significantly, the females and the males were similar.
And this was all up above. 18.6 was all of them. Females was 22.8, and the males were 16.1.
Getting vertigo up here, but that's okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry.
You see the math computation, in all cases, they appear to do significantly better versus the math problem solving. And I'm just wondering, is there systematic or a,
Sorry.
I guess we don't have a specialist in that area here tonight.
I could hazard a guess. Well, let
Hazard a
Andy
guess.
go. Go ahead.
Andy's got a guess.
In the computation areas, you're looking at a very finite process. You're talking 2 digits with 2 digits, 3 digits with 3 digits. And it becomes a skill that you acquire by practicing it multiple times.
So it's a formula versus a word problem.
A word problem, and the problem solver is also that critical thinking.
Yeah.
So that's where your academic disability could kind of maybe get in the way more. Whereas a special ed child, again, you teach them the process of either multiplication, addition, subtraction, and they can get the process. And once they have the process, they can apply that process to almost all the problems. So it's a very finite skill you're teaching. As problem solving, that problem changes. And we change the names of the people in the problem. One time it's trains, the next time it's boats. And sometimes that gets in the way for them. They're too worried about that, and they don't get into the process of solving the problem.
Right, and to piggyback on that, oftentimes with a math problem and concepts, you're looking at multiple steps. So whereas in computation, it's a division example, a multiplication example, a word problem may involve multiple steps. So you've got division in there and multiplication in which to solve the problem. And then also from time to time, you may have a reading issue that may go along with it. But even with that, I think where the kids scored on the word problems is significant. But I think it's also reflective, too, of some of the items and activities in the general curriculum that have promoted the computation. And if we go back 4 years ago, I believe it was, where our computation scores were significantly below where we wanted them to be, and that was the genesis for the focus over at the elementary level and at the middle school level and also at the high school.
See, it's beyond the scope of this, but it's fascinating to me because it sounds like these students will be good at computer programming where you learn by example, but maybe not so good at technical writing. It's just, it's very interesting.
I don't know, I did okay at technical.
I just picked that as an example.
Oh.
But if you, go ahead, John.
I think the first thing that needs to be said is that it's remarkable the number of areas in which this group of students did make adequate
Absolutely.
adequate yearly progress. But that being said, I'm looking at a test that primarily tells me that in certain areas, some members of the special education population didn't make adequate yearly progress. Would you expect them to? Would they be expected to?
Again, this is average rate of growth in a year's time. And yes, I believe that we would expect our special ed population to make a year's growth in a year's time. And
The same amount of growth that the
you
general
look
population makes?
if you look at our class cohorts from the end of, grade 3 all the way up to the high school level, in many areas on the Iowa tests, we have found that our special ed students make a year's growth in a year's time. Now, we're not perfect at every grade level, but we found that that they can make a year's growth in a year's time. In fact, at this year, with the support of Kim Carpinone, the SPED directors are breaking down the data by individual student to see if they indeed, at the individual level, are making a year's growth in a year's time, particularly in the critical areas of reading, which we place great importance on, and mathematics. So we are doing that. That data is going to be ready at the elementary level for early release when the schools sit down, their staff sit down to develop assessment action plans. So yes, we do expect that can happen.
Thank you.
They can. The SPED population in the male side is up here on the screen for you. Again, we're pleased. Again, vocabulary and comprehension are very strong. And again, as I pointed out earlier, the median for the Iowa test at the end of grade 5 was 214. Our male SPED population scored 213. Not too bad, I would say. So again, there's their there's their results. Just for your information, which I've shared with the elementary schools, and I will show you these slides this evening, the breakout of the school results. Matthew Thornton, all students, as you can see, we made a year's growth in a year's time in all of the categories. The females, essentially we made a year's growth in all of these areas. The reading comprehension was only off by 0.4, so I think that's just a matter of a slight adjustment there. And the male population at Matthew Thornton made a year's growth in a year's time in all areas. The also North School, looking at this population, all students made a year's growth generally in all areas. The handout that I provided you was a typo for language total. That was 17.9, and it's a yes. The only area they were off by 0.2 in punctuation. So the females at North School made a year's growth in all areas. Some really nice growth, as you can see, capitalization, the math area, particularly problem solving and math computation, were very strong. And the males, reading vocabulary was off just a bit, not by much. Punctuation was off a bit. Very strong results again, math concepts, math problem solving on this slide. The South School results, just to show the three, just a bit off on the capitalization area, or punctuation. Math concepts a bit off, and computation was off by 0.7. As you drill down, though, you can look at where maybe the issue could be emerging. Now, computation, the females made a year's growth, well above a year's growth at South School. But then you look at the males, which is unusual, but they didn't make year's growth there, and that's an area that an action plan that they could possibly look at in that area. I did not break it down by special ed grouping for the 3 schools because the sample size is very small, and that's where I think Kim's work with the directors, doing it at the individual level, works best to help kids there. So I just wanted to give you a snapshot on how we kind of drill down on the Iowa tests. So the next time we, sometime in October, we'll have the principals come back with the assessment action plans to show you what we did do during the past year to address some of our areas and where we're going with what we see on our new data. So I hope that helps. Is there any questions? Thank you.
Susan?
Tonight, and also Mark is involved in this, to ask the board's consideration of a proposed Title V project And the memo that you received in your packet basically explained that we got no monies from the federal government this year in Title V. We weren't alone in that. Title V was zero funded at the national level. These have been the dollars that we've traditionally used to help support some innovative technology projects in the district. It is the one aspect of ESEA, No Child Left Behind, that allows the district some flexibility. Fortunately, or unfortunately, I don't know what, but Concord has, over the past year, we've seen up and downs in allocations, and we were notified that the district had received some additional Title IIA funds. And under the provisions of the federal legislation, we have the ability to transfer up to a certain percentage of dollars from one title into another. And so because our Title V project is still on the books and still considered open, the district can choose to transfer some of those monies. So we're seeking to transfer some additional monies that have come in for Title IIA, and I believe Mark previously walked you through the district's proposal for Title IIA, which was pretty much buttoned up by the time we received notification of additional funding. And we'd like to take those monies, combine them with a reallocation to last year's Title V funds, which gives us a little, and use that to develop, ask teachers to develop proposals to create next-generation tech-rich classrooms. We discussed this at the Technology Committee this last week, indicating to them that this would be an area that would be a good way for the district to explore where technology is leading us, and we would like to have the Technology Committee vet that a little more so that the proposal is clear and that teachers can then make application to suggest to us how they would use new technologies in their classrooms to improve student learning, as well as share what they're learning about that experience with other teachers in their grade or subject area. That's pretty much it. We're just seeking the board's authorization to proceed with development and submission of that over the next couple of months.
Any questions for Sue?
How much, what's the dollar amount?
Combined, actually, this is a little bit of a typo. I think it's about 23,000 in additional Title IIA funds, and we would combine that with some additional allocations that came to us for Title V after we had submitted our project last year.
Which we will spend on equipping next-generation tech-rich classrooms? Are our current generation of tech-rich classrooms adequate?
That's what we want to determine. We want to determine if we should be exploring some different sorts of technologies or expanding the use of some technologies that are in limited supplies in our district. We've talked briefly, and again, this will take further shape as the Technology Committee develops this, but we've talked about expanding the use of data projectors into classrooms, and discussions have also talked to some degree about smart board technologies or interactive whiteboard technologies. We have one of those in the district that was received when Ida Jura was named Teacher of the Year for the state and was gifted to the district. So,
Sure, but I guess the question I'm going at is, do we have enough of the current generation of technology in our classrooms that now is the time we should be looking at putting the next generation in a few of them?
I think I can say that we have enough technology in the classrooms to deliver the curriculum as it exists, to make that available to students. I'm sure people would like more technology in terms of numbers, and perhaps we could do a little better on critical mass, but I think that we are at a point where we have to make some decisions about what directions we're going to go in to achieve that critical mass. Whether we should move away from traditional television technologies into data projectors in the classroom, those sorts of things. And I get the feeling from the look that I'm not answering your question.
No, you are. You are. So the proposal then is to take this money and put it in an account that will be used when specific proposals come up on how to deploy it?
We would ask teachers, using a template that would be developed by the technology committee, and I'm sure with input from administration and from teachers, we develop a template proposal, ask teachers to give us an idea of what their vision might be for their content or grade level area about where technology should be heading so that they can do a good job, their best job instructing, and so that they can impact student learning.
Will teachers have an opportunity to make a case for simply backfilling their classroom with a current level, current generation in technology?
I would suggest that yes, that would be possible, but
Okay, and who's going to make the decision on which projects get funded?
the technology committee will make a determination as to how that gets vetted. There will be, I'm sure, a criteria to score the proposals. It will be an interest in having equity to make, for example, we briefly discussed possibly one at each of the elementary schools and up to 2 at the middle and high school because of numbers of students. We want to give the schools, each school, an opportunity to do something with this proposal.
So this decision is not something that the board will see again?
I didn't perceive it that way, but that doesn't mean that
Just
that's not
asking
a possibility.
questions, I'm not. Okay.
Steve?
Any poison pills in this, in these government funds?
Poison pills from the
Hooks,
requirements of us beyond this. The only
if we take this, then we'll be required to,
The only requirement under Title V is that we maintain a separate inventory of any equipment and that we notify the state of New Hampshire if we withdraw any equipment for the next 7 years, for the 7 years out, that type of thing. And we must submit an evaluation. We have to say, this is what we intend to do, this is how we're going to measure it, and then within a year's time to submit an evaluation to address how well we think we met what we said we were going to do.
and you don't see the costs of doing that as unreasonable?
No.
Thanks.
When this came up, one of the things I envisioned of this is not more technology in the classroom, is how is a teacher going to use technology to improve instruction in the classroom? Little different. I can put 4 more computers in and do the same old thing as I've done before. And in some classrooms, computers become just, they're there and they kind of, they're an extra in there is not part of it. How do we bring technology into the learning process, and how does the teacher use this to bring the curriculum closer to the students? That's what I'm looking, when I think of innovation, is how do we take the next step? And I'll use the example of this is Liz Juster brought the English class in the 11th grade to a new level using technology. How is that brought in this here? And that's my vision of this, is how do we bring the next generation, the other Liz Justers that we have in the district that have ideas on technology, how do they bring this instruction to the students? We look at Liz's classes, we walk through it, or I do, and say, wow, this is fantastic. And the board must have agreed because we have now tech-rich English classes in there. You know, it may be Liz Justice got the next idea, or someone else, another, Carol Mack may have another idea at the elementary school, how we bring it across.
It's kind of
But
a
that-
research and development.
Right, how do we,
Grant,
how do
as it
we
were.
use technology to get the information, our curriculum, into the children?
I'm sure that's a worthwhile goal. I'm simply expressing my concern that in the budgetary times that we're in and that we're going into, that we need to make sure that an adequate technology base exists for all the students as a foundation before we build on it.
John, just to that point, the one variable in this particular federal project is that we cannot use it to what the federal government would say is to supplant our obligation to provide baseline technologies. So it has to be what they would consider to be something innovative. So that's where the backfill.
Anything else?
Seeing none, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we support the proposed Title V project.
I second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Thanks, Sue. Nate, anything else?
No, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we go into non-public under RSA 91A:3, Section 2A through F.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call.
I,
Aye,
Steve
Ronald
Young.
Campo.
George Herman. Remember, if you're in this room, you are on the air. Thank you all.
I signed that.
Oh, yeah, can we get-
Oh, I'll bring it inside. Okay, not a problem.
That's pretty. That's technology in action for you. And the air light was off during the whole thing. Now it's on.
Oh, please do.
So the answer to your question in the beginning is, no, I did appreciate it, but I needed some more depth.
Oh, I've been here.
So I ran into Art last night.